Welcome to Girl Choose Yourself, where we're trading self-doubt for self-trust and settling for soaring. I'm Emer Zone, your host, and together we're building the confidence to create lives so deliciously bold that they scare us a little, but in the best possible way. Because life's too precious to stay cozy in our comfort zones. It's time to choose ourselves for lives that are fabulous and soulfully fulfilling. So let's go. This morning I went out and did a just over 8-mile run. And later this week I am flying to the UK because on Sunday I'm going to be running the London Marathon. And I guess last week I was talking about my very unexpected alcohol-free life. It's 3 years alcohol-free. And this week I'm going to talk about quite an unexpected journey as a runner and kind of how I got into it, how it serves me in ways that I never really imagined, and what it's taught me about choosing myself. So as I said, I'm heading to London to run what will be my 4th major marathon, which sounds wild. Last year I ran in the Berlin Marathon and I ran in New York. And the year before I ran Chicago. And for any of you who aren't runners, there are a number of major marathons. I think there's 7 now officially. There were 6 until last year when they added Sydney, but they're basically the biggest marathons in the world where the major athletes come to compete, and then regular people like you and me also show up and run. So they're really well organized. They're typically a little flatter than many other marathon courses because people can set records on them. So when I was in school, I used to run sprints. I ran the 100, 200, 4x100, and on one occasion was asked to take part in a longer distance race, and it nearly killed me. And I always thought I didn't have enough stamina for long distance. And I do hear, an old coach's voice when I say that, a parent's voice when I say that. And that was just something that was kind of embedded in me. And it may be a midlife thing where people start to take on these sports. There's a lot of midlifers who take up endurance sports. I started, I guess, in my mid-40s, a little bit of running when I lived in the UK, trained for a 10K, didn't actually do it, trained for another one, and finally completed 10K. And that was an incredible achievement. I thought that was wow. I remember being on that course and going, wow, I've never run 5 miles, and it was great. And they gave you a medal, and I felt very proud of myself. And then a couple of years later, I trained for a half marathon and ran that with a friend from the neighborhood where I lived at the time, who was a super athlete, really good runner. And she really looked after me on the course, and I ran that. And I was going, wow, this is so hard. I don't think I'll ever bloody do that again. And it was some time after that I decided as I was coming up to 50, I said, I think I want to try the marathon distance. And I have a brother in my family who does a lot of endurance sports and did Ironmans, and so that was kind of also kind of inspiring for me. And then I decided I'm going to run it in Dublin, where I'm from, and he was going to run it too, and so did my brother-in-law. So it felt like really supportive and wonderful, home territory. I got myself a coach, and I worked hard and managed to cross the finish line and was ecstatic. But the thing that I really want to talk about is that it really has given me so much, running. And one of the key things that it's given me is really kind of shattering an identity that I had burdened myself with, which was I don't have the stamina for distance. And here I am about to take on my 5th marathon. And I'm not saying I'm not anxious about it. The distance is such that anything can happen over 26.2 miles or whatever that is. Is that 42 kilometers? I go with mileage, but anything can happen over that distance, no matter how well prepared you are or how fit you are. It's a very challenging distance. But I feel like coming into that, I'm like, I know how to run this distance. I know how to get through this. And so I'm anxious, but quietly confident at the same time. And it really has, this idea of running has kind of changed how I see myself. And there's one of the biggest parts of that is when you run. I remember the very first time this happened, I was out running very early in the training. So when I started training, it was like you walk for a while, you run for a while, you walk for a while, you run for a while. And then the walking breaks, which start off quite long, get shorter and shorter until eventually you drop them and then you're running all the time. And I was at that running all the time part, and I got to this point, and the run was 3, maybe 4 miles. It's not a huge distance in the context of marathon training. And in my head, I was going, oh, this is too hard. I can't do this. I'm so tired. I just can't make this. I'm just going to stop. And then I didn't stop. I just continued to have the conversation sort of in my head while I kept going. Running might be a little bit overstating what I was doing. I was kind of stumbling along. But it came into my mind and I kind of laughed at myself and I said, oh, okay, I get it now. You have to run when you want to stop. That's how you get better. You don't stop because you're tired. You keep going even though you're tired. That's how you get stronger and fitter. And that was sort of a revelation for me. It sounds so simple. But I had thought that was my limit, was when I was tired. And it wasn't. When I was running, I found a place to put the tiredness. I slowed down a little bit. I began to see that, oh, I can recover energy while I'm expending it. On a run, when I think I don't have anything more, I can pull back a little bit and I can just keep going, and I will find, if it's a few hundred meters later, it might be 2 miles later, that I'm back feeling stronger. And what that taught me is my mind will tell me things that are not true. If you run, even now I can go out for a 3-mile run, and the first 10 minutes of that run, my mind can say things like, oh my God, you're breathing really heavily. I don't think you're as fit as you think you are. There's no way you're going to cover the distance. You shouldn't be tired now. Oh, maybe you're just not, maybe you're ill today. Maybe you're just, the mind just goes and goes and goes. And it is a big storyteller. And it just weaves a tale. And at the beginning, I would believe the story. And now I expect the story. I watch the story. And then I go do my thing. It really is so powerful in life, because whenever my mind tells me now, well, you can't do that, that's too hard, and starts telling me about all of the obstacles and all of the reasons why something isn't possible, it's going to be too hard for me, I just treat that the same way I treat my mind when it goes out on a run, because I have experienced on a cellular level that my mind is just bullshitting me. It's just telling me lies. It's telling me stories. I don't need to get entangled in them. I can just zoom out, find a quiet place within me, and just keep going, just doing what needs to be done in the moment. So that's a huge benefit of running. You really begin to know yourself, and you know that your mind is spinning stories, and you're a lot stronger and more powerful than you imagine. Some people say they run to outrun their problems or I don't run to escape my problems. I run really, it's like a homecoming when you run. It's just you and yourself, particularly on longer runs, and you really can come home to yourself. When I think about running and kind of peace of mind, I think it's really a mindfulness practice as well. So mindfulness in its most simple form is really paying attention on purpose in a particular way. It's being present with the eternal now, the only moment that we ever have, here, now, and a oneness with that. And when I began to get more into running and had gained a certain level of fitness, at the beginning it's the same for everybody. You're looking, can I run to the next lamppost? I started like that. It's just like, can I make it to the next lamppost? And then I'll take a short break and I'll wait until my heart rate goes down a bit and then I'll run a little bit more. But as you get more into it, and there's no rush, you find that running can be quite meditative. You'll find a pace and moments when you're running where you feel a deep sense of peace and okayness with everything. I can't explain it better than that. At least for me, that's what it gives me. I'm not running in a very competitive way. Some people have mantras that, I guess, that are very much about pushing themselves, like faster, stronger, harder, whatever. My mantra when I'm running is probably the polar opposite of that. My mantra is nothing to prove. Nothing to prove. I run for me, myself, and I. It's about that okayness with this moment. It's meeting the moments and allowing them and accepting the difficulty, accepting the challenge of the uphill, accepting that today I'm a little bit heavier in the legs than I was yesterday, and an okayness with that. That's a hugely powerful practice. Not to be in resistance to the moments of our lives, wanting them to be different, to be better. Often we are rejecting our experience of life because it wasn't like what we had before. This run isn't as good or as smooth as it was yesterday, or it's not what we hope for in the future, and we're polluting the moments that we have with this resistance towards what is. And I think when you run, it is a practice of acceptance and meeting the moments of your life as they are and being okay with them. And that doesn't mean, to be clear, that you're injured and you just say, I'm going to meet this moment of injury and just keep running. It's accepting that, I pulled a muscle. It's disappointing because I needed to do a longer run for whatever training, whatever is the context of your running journey. And just meeting that moment and saying, accepting it fully, and then an okayness with that. And that, I think, is one of the many gifts of running, is this mindful, meditative experience. I run alone mostly, taking into account the importance of safety, particularly for women runners. But I love that sort of the solitude, the just me, getting up really early, the house is asleep, doing this thing. Particularly most of the time I'm running outside. Only now and then I run on a treadmill, which is fine. But it's this idea that you go out in pretty much whatever weather and you find an okayness with that too. And it's that connection to nature as well. It gives you a deep appreciation for your surroundings. And as you get more into it, a greater sense of, it sounds almost spiritual, but it's a connectedness of all that there is. That is my experience. And then I notice when I finish a run, just how different my mind might be. I'm not running to, like I said, to outrun any problems, but I return with a greater sense of being more centered, more grateful, a greater appreciation for the world for my ability to do this, and just a calmness from having moved my body in this way. One thing that I've noticed, I just said I ran alone, right? But I think running is also about, for me, the quiet power of community. I'm running by myself, but I'm running around in areas where I'll see other people, or I often pass cyclists, I often pass other runners, or just people in their cars. I'll run on roads. 99.9% of people will pull out and make sure that you get, more than enough space as you're running. And they will, salute you, they'll wave. I've had people roll down the windows of their car and say really encouraging things to me while I've been running up hills in the pouring rain. The other day I was doing quite a long run, and there's this hill that I've nicknamed Relentless, which is probably unhelpful, in the area where I run often, and I was running up that hill, and it's called Relentless because it just seems to go on forever. And another runner was coming towards me, and she had the benefit of the downhill. And normally I just, there's a silent nod of understanding and recognition. And she just said, "You're looking great. You're looking so strong." And off she ran. And I think there was that understanding between us of there are uphills and there are downhills in every run, but in every life. And we know that when we're taking an uphill, there'll be times when we'll be going downhill too, that it's all part of the journey in a run. And it's broader than that. It's all part of the journey of a life. For me, I felt that silent, supportive, that quiet, supportive community, somebody I don't know at all, who is just, wants the best for me in that moment. You're looking strong. People, I've been cheered so many times when I've been out running by myself. I really, it's quite inspiring to think of people you don't know, who don't know you, who are encouraging you. That's really powerful to me. It's this deep oneness. It speaks to this deep oneness. We see struggle in somebody and commitment, and we kind of respect it, and we want them to do well. If you ever want to be inspired, go out and support a marathon or a half marathon in your area. It's incredible. It's incredible. You have the elite athletes, well, depending on the marathon that you're going to, but you'll always have such incredible variety of human beings, fitness levels, ability levels, race, gender, religion, background. Just all of humanity seems to be there in these larger events. And what it has taken every single one of them to get to the start line. You'll have so many people who got there have had disappointing training periods, that they've picked up injuries, that it didn't go the way they wanted it to go, and they show up anyway. And there's often people, and I've been one of them myself on occasion, where you're taped up a bit here and there and hoping that it isn't too brutal. And it's inspiring because often people are running in the larger events for different charities, or people are, I've been running behind people. I run behind a lot of people, running behind people, and seen signs on the back of them where they're talking about, they're sharing that they themselves have an invisible but highly debilitating condition. And I've seen blind people running with guides. Everything is there in the field on race day, and it is humbling and it is inspiring. And so just another thing when I think about what running has given me is is that really like a deep sense of gratitude. It's not like I have to do this run or I have to do this marathon. It's like I get to. Wow, I'm so grateful for this body that is able to do this, to take these miles at my own pace, at my own pace. Like I say, my mantra is nothing to prove. And when I'm training and I work with them, I typically work with a coach, and sometimes she'll put in for the run, one of the runs for a week at a certain stage of the training program, like a gratitude run. Like it's like a certain number of miles. Don't think about pace, just be really grateful for how far you've come, what this body is able to do. And that is a beautiful way to think about running. I mean, I'm 55 years of age. There's a deep sense of privilege to be able to move my body when I'm feeling, oh, this is hard, this is really hard on an uphill, or it can be on a downhill, like seriously. It's like there are people, I often run past a hospital and I'm thinking there are people in there who would dream of being able to do what I might complain about here. There are people who didn't wake up this morning, you know? There are people who are living their last day today. And I get to lace up my shoes and go out and move my body and cover this mileage and be outside in the beautiful outdoors. Deep, deep privilege. I get to do this. And it's not about speed. It's so not about speed. Or the finish line, you know. It's about showing up. You really meet yourself in a deep way when you run. And I think the marathon distance is challenging, and I know I'll be challenged on Sunday. I know I'll be challenged, even though I've been at all those mile points before. It gets hard. It gets hard for everybody. Everybody hurts at some point on many points during that distance. And I know that when I'll get to those points, I will be really leaning into gratitude and deep presence to get me through it. And another thing that helps is just being incredibly loving and encouraging and enthusiastic and wishing the best for every other person who's running in that field with you that day. And being so grateful to all of the support staff who are there and all of the spectators who come out with their very funny signs often, who are wanting the best for you and who are inspired by you, whether you're walking it, whether you're stumbling along, whether you're blistering past them, having the best run of your life. There is such a huge feeling of love and connection for all of humanity in that space. That's what I really lean into when it gets to those inevitably tough points. And that's an energy that, you know, we have access to all the time, but we so rarely see it on such a scale as is obvious on, you know, at events like this. So just as I kind of reflect on that, and I'll be leaving in just 2 days, and I'll feel nervous and all of the things. But it's a huge privilege and honor to be able to do it, and to be able to share it with a very good friend who joins me in this kind of marathon madness on many occasions. And if you've ever been curious about running any kind of distance, whether it's a first 5K, a 10K, or the marathon distance, if you were well enough and able enough, I think it's a very powerful endeavor to take on that goes way beyond getting a medal, getting to the finish line, and the fitness benefits that come with it. One of the big things that I think that is so transferable in your life, if you commit to doing a race, to taking on a distance like this, is you prove to yourself that you can make a promise to yourself and keep it. Every run is a promise made and a promise kept on the journey to your biggest problem, not your biggest problem, your biggest promise. Whether it's to, I will run a 10K, I will run a half marathon, I will run whatever the distance is. Every time you go out and you do a run on your training plan, it is a promise made to myself and promise kept. And here's the thing. It's often that we will keep our promises to other people and we will betray ourselves. We won't keep the promises to ourselves, and our lives are a reflection of the promises that we've made and kept to ourselves. What would it mean to you? What changes would happen in your life if you consistently made and kept your promises to yourself? I'm going to leave it there. Wish me luck. And if you're interested in beginning a running journey, I'm going to be cheering you on, whether it's a couch to 5K or the full marathon distance. You'll be astounded at what you're capable of. You will touch into just a flicker of the immense potential that is within you. Stay well, stay cool. Talk to you next time. Thank you so much for choosing to spend this time with me today. If you enjoy the episode and it resonated with you, please consider subscribing and share this podcast with someone you know who would benefit from the message. If you'd like to take things a step further, you'll find some free and paid resources in the show notes. And until next time, in the unlikely event that no one has told you this yet today, let me have the profound honor of reminding you that you are truly magnificent and the world is a far better and brighter place because you are here with us all. See you next time.